Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 87 of Final Boss TV, your wild and game rating show. My name is Adam K.A.K. Bay, and I'll be your host this evening as we run almost to the end of the Warlords of Draenor interview junket, as it were. Of course, if you have wanted some Tier 18 updates for your class that we did months ago, it takes about half a year to do every interview junket, we'll be doing 8 of those to catch up after we finish the next couple episodes. Today is Windwalker Monk. We have Mage on the horizon, followed by Enhancement Shaman, then a week off, and then there'll be 8 episodes, 4 and then 4, that'll be catching up for Tier 18. But today, as I said, it's time for some Monk discussion. They've had a weird journey through Warlords of Draenor, so joining us today, back for her, I don't even know, 17th time on the show, there's Calli. Hi, Calli.
Hey, how's it going?
Are you ready to talk about Monk stuff today?
I think it's all I talk about most of the time, so yeah, should be good.
Is it all you talk about?
Sometimes I talk about cats,
Oh.
but not druids.
Okay. Well, technically you have a cat when you're a monk, so I guess that's fine, right?
Good point, Ewan.
Yeah. That is true.
Otherwise known as Kenny.
Is that's his real name, or is that his?
That's what I call him. He's Kenny the Tiger.
Okay. God. Also joining us today is Irysheman. Hi, Irish.
Hello, everyone.
Are you ready to do this too? Jump on the show?
Dude, I could talk about monks for hours. Let's go.
Yeah. We'll start right now. Start going.
Okay.
You've got 2 hours to talk about
Let me
monks.
explain Rune of Reorigination.
Oh no, please. No. All the monks, when the stream catches up, are gonna go like, ugh, please don't do that. Well, welcome to the show, sir. Good to have you.
Thank you.
And of course, this would not be a show. I want to bring this up with every episode now from now on at the beginning, because people always want to know like what you would play if you weren't playing a Windwalker Monk. So I'll do that in reverse. What would you play if you're not playing a Windwalker Monk? And when did you start playing Windwalker Monk? Irish, go.
What I would not be playing, or what I would be playing about not Windwalker Monk, would be a Frost DK.
Why would you play a Frost DK?
Because like going from the complication of a Windwalker to like I need a co-main to do damage. So
right.
Frost DK, it's a melee, and it's one of the more simple melee rotations. If I was going to be ranged, I'd play a Boomkin right now because they're also freaking simple.
Yeah.
When I started playing Windwalker, well, I first installed World of Warcraft when the first LFR of Throne of Thunder came out.
Wow.
And
so
then
fresh meat.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I leveled a monk brewmaster to tank, because lol tanking brewmaster back then. And since then I've moved on through different guilds all the way up to where I'm now as a Windwalker, because Windwalker is fun.
That's enough reason. Yeah.
Well, it's
Fair
more
enough.
like just like fun rotations.
Yeah.
Kung Fu.
It is. You're not wrong. Calli, what about you?
Yeah. So that's actually a hard question because I have like 6 level 100s. Okay. Sorry, 4 7s on the... No, I have 5. But probably the alt that I play the most is my rogue right now. I would probably play Shaman more, but they're kind of hurting because Shaman was actually my main prior to playing my monk, which I started my monk whenever Miss Pandaria actually dropped. I played it a ton in beta. I was originally going to be Brewmaster, wound up as Windwalker because in Tier 14 everyone thought that they sucked, even though we all knew that they were really good. So I've been Windwalker ever since because it's actually really hard to find a tanking spot at a high-end rating guild.
Well, I think, yeah, a lot of high-end guilds sort of have that like ingrained, and it doesn't go away, and you're not going to get rid of it. So, yeah, you're not wrong. I get you.
Yeah.
So definitely both of you have a big background in Windwalker shenanigans. I think I was going to roll a monk, and I got off the turtle, and I was like, that was fun.
You rolled off the turtle?
Yeah, basically, yeah. At level 11
you get it
or
at
whatever.
level 8, so.
Yeah, it's fall damage. You're gonna die if you roll off the turtle.
It's fine. No, it's okay. It's all right.
Not really, not as Pandaren.
Oh, this is true.
That's true.
Because if you're on the turtle, you're obviously Pandaren.
I've done it multiple times before where I'm on my Death Knight ult doing Tanan stuff, and I jump off things too high, and I'm like, I'm not a panda right now, and almost die.
You have to glyph Path of Frost.
I didn't know that, because, again, I'm a noob, DK. So, yeah, learning things.
Yeah.
I guess so. How is Hellfire Citadel looking in your perspectives right now? I mean, Mythic has been up for almost a full reset. As we just learned before the show, apparently Paragon just killed Manaroth. Because,
disgusting.
You know, that's... I guess it makes sense, right? I didn't think it was going to die that fast. I thought Valhalla would be a huge DPS check, but apparently not.
Well, when you're doing split runs and your whole guild is already 710, it should be good.
Yeah, most likely. But, so Calli, what do you think so far? What's your Hellfire Citadel take so far?
It's probably... I think the rating this expansion has been some of the best that we've had. It's probably the best part of the expansion. It's the only part of the expansion. But sorry, I'm just joking. I actually think the fights are incredibly interesting and actually quite fun. I think if you look at raid tiers throughout the years, I think Hellfire Citadel is usually one of the best, even if we're looking at probably rating it for a long time since they finally came out and said, oh, this is the last tier. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. But it's quite fun. What I've seen on beta, it was actually really good. Windwalker actually looks fairly strong for some fights, even if by simulation craft we look completely terrible and awful.
It's about that skill cap.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, that's a talk on Simcraft right now, to never take it for face value. Just look at it and be like, okay. But
it's good for weighing single target, which single target pushes boss, blah, blah, blah. The thing I talk about all the time. Yeah.
What do you think so far, Irish?
I'm really enjoying it. Windwalker just has like this disgustingly versatile toolkit where you can just do whatever you want and still like be like a benefit to the raid.
Fair enough. You think that? What do you think about compared to Heimall and BRF now? HFC better, worse?
Well, I mean, the first week of Heimall was awesome, right? When we were doing like 60k, and everyone else is doing 20. No, but I mean, you feel like the I'm not going to call them nerfs, the changes. You feel them. It's more of a, you really have to be active in order to deal like competitive damage. But like, I like it. Right. It lends to the playstyle.
Yeah, I've never played one at a high level. I've never played really any energy classes at a high level, so I don't know, I guess, how that would feel. I don't know. Because I know at the beginning of the expansion, which we'll bring up right now, Windwalker Monk was, like, really good.
Amazing.
Like, really good. And then you were nerfed, like, 3 Tuesdays in a row?
Yep.
Yep. They cut our hands off over time. Like, one finger at a time, you know. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people complain about how slow we were at the beginning of the expansion, but what they have to understand is that beginning of last expansion, when we were introduced, our mastery filled in the GCDs that haste didn't. So we had a completely different mastery than what we have now. So yes, you know, they did increase the energy cost of jab, but when you're not at 30%, when you're at 30% haste and you go to like 1% haste, you might actually feel it a lot. So I think that's what a lot of it was about, is that we weren't used to not having those GCD fills from having 500 billion combo breaker procs.
Right, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you think that all the nerfs were warranted, though, at the early part of the expansion? This is a weird part of, we talked about beta stuff, and we never, I guess, didn't really see this coming, and then Heimall comes around, and, like, have they nerfed the proper things with Windwalker to, like, make it not reign too supreme, or was just Heimall, like, just a place that you could be really good as a Windwalker?
I would say it's a little bit of both. Go ahead, Irish, though. I'll let you answer this one.
Like, when the first couple weeks of Heimall, just the number tuning was just awful. Like, you didn't have to try and you were top damage.
I would actually counter that with a lot of the encounters in Heimall kind of catered toward us. I agree that we should not have been on top of Butcher as well as Tim Ogren. However, there were a lot that were basically, you constantly had another add up and you were constantly cleaving, and a lot of other classes didn't have their set bonuses. Whereas Windwalker is really strong when we have, like, no gear, whereas other classes, they get these set bonuses, and then, you know, it's like, oh, we still have a Windwalker? What's this?
You just farm enough dungeon gear to get 50% multi-strike at 630.
Yep. That's what I did, except I did the CM gear.
There you go.
Because they kept nerfing like blackout kicks damage or rising sun kicks like bonus damage. I always
weird.
I always looked at it from the outside in thinking like, why wouldn't they just like cut down the benefit from Tiger Eye Brew? Because it felt like that was why it was being abused. Was it was Tiger Eye Brew into ridiculously multi-strike stacked Fist of Fury, which was making like all the monks that can really abuse that like damage.
Well, it's that and the way our cleave works, because if you have, we have Storm, Earth, and Fire, that's our main cleave ability. And if you have 2 clones up, it's what, 70% damage in addition to your clone doing 70% of your damage for a total of, 140% or something crazy like that. Or if you have 3 clones up, all of you are doing 45%, so you do the math there. That's like a crap ton of damage versus the guy over here who isn't getting that kind of benefit. And on top of that, if everything's stacked up, then all 3 chi explosions are hitting, so then you'd basically just have this huge effect of lots and lots of damage going out.
Right.
Because Furies and all that jazz.
Yep.
I guess I'm just not... Is the onset of Storm, Earth, and Fire the reason why monks have had such like a tumultuous up and down between patch cycles? Because they're either like really too good or like not good enough.
Well, think about it this way. Storm, Earth, and Fire was not buffed in 6.0. It was buffed in 5.4. It's just that no one realized how strong our cleave was because of Warlocks.
Well, it's hard to look past those demo
protectors.
Warlocks of the time.
Yeah, when you have 6 Warlocks in your raid, each doing 2 million damage on protectors, you're not going to notice the Windwalker doing 1 million damage.
Yeah. So do you feel like it was over nerf then, I guess, at the time?
I think it was nerfing the wrong things, because I do agree that Storm, Earth, and Fire probably should have been dialed back, because that's definitely, in my opinion, holding back our single target damage, is that they have to balance their single target damage. Oh, but over on this fight over here, they're going to be doing like 500 million% damage because of Storm, Earth, and Fire. So tone that back down a little bit. So you're doing the same 500 million damage, but it's not head and shoulders above your single target.
So do you think that the coefficient on the damage that they copy should be lessened?
Yeah, at least toned down a little bit.
Yeah, but to brought up to compensate is our single target.
Yes.
Right.
So, because like Storm with Fire is weird because it's not really an AoE ability. It's like 3 single targets.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, you don't really get, because they don't use AoE abilities, do they? Like,
No, they will.
They will.
They use everything you do.
Okay.
Except for like a couple of insignificant abilities, but they'll use your chi burst, they use your chi explosion. They do everything as long as you're not targeting the same target.
And is their damage obviously is a portion of like what the max damage would be anyway, but it's still like you're copying abilities in the first place, so it's like an additive bonus. And because the bonus is not less than 100%, it actually adds to more than 100% damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of
And
has...
then even more so if you're within cleave range.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, consider that Blade Flurry is like an extra however much % on your target while you're still doing 100% damage. So it's kind of similar to that, except Blade Flurry doesn't have a limit on targets.
Yeah, that buff. Rogues.
Yeah.
People ask me like, why are the top guilds running with like 3 or 4 rogues on progression right now? And I'm like, are you playing the same game I'm playing? Do you know what trinkets exist? Do you know there's like no drawback on Blade Flurry?
Yeah.
5% energy regen. Woo! Just take lemon zest. You're good to go.
Yeah, or you could just go to another spec that does higher single target as rogue, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, and you can't do that as a hybrid. Like, we're in the same spot, right? Like, you talked about Shaman earlier today, and as enhancement, like, they can't really overbuff our single target because then we'll be too good at everything because we have, like, crazy AoE.
Yeah, but even so, you shouldn't be trailing behind other classes because as someone who is also an enhancement Shaman aficionado, their very low single target really does hurt them, in my opinion.
Right. No, it does. I mean, the set bonus was pretty good. It was buffed, and then, like, nerfed, and then nerfed, and then nerfed, and reworked. So, like,
yeah.
So, I guess is that the niche or niche or however you want to pronounce the chat room?
You can do it.
No, you gotta give me all 3 because if you say it one way wrong, the chat room's like, blah, blah, blah.
Dictionary.com told me it's niche.
Niche, yeah. So is that just like the way that Windwalker is going to be? kind of like meh on just like pure single target fights, but anyone that have like you know, prevailing ads, like Archimon, for example.
That's controversial because for a fight like Gruul, if your guild is really good and you're killing it in about 3.5 minutes, your top DPS will likely be a Windwalker just because that lines up very well with our burst cooldowns. So if it's a very short fight, yeah, we can do extremely well because everyone else is like, oh, I'm still waiting on my 5-minute cooldown. And we're like, yep, our cooldowns just came back up. We're good.
We're good to go. Well, like, I've topped Gruul. Like, Windwalkers are really still competitive single target, just like depending on what's going on in the fight, really, because Windwalkers just are the quickest to deal with mechanics. Because like on Zul'Rock, you get targeted by the Fell Burn, you just Flying Serpent kick out and Transcendence back in. You wasted 2 globals, where other people have to like run all the way out and drop the fire and run all the way back in. Like, okay,
yeah. I mean, you have to keep moving and updating your Transcendence when the boss moves, obviously, in that example. So, yeah, I mean, I get there are definitely certain mechanics that you take advantage of. I mean, I usually Ghost Wolf it or sprint it, so it's not too bad for me. But,
yeah, most melee at least have some kind of move speed that they can use.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess, are there any points you feel like are wrong with Windwalker right now, in your opinion? Like, what is, I guess, inconsistent or poorly tuned or just meh?
I would say that Windwalker is actually in a really good spot. It's just that every other class is in a better spot. As far as our niche goes, we still have to contend with fire mages. I believe that there are actually a ton of classes up there right now with 2 and 3 single target. Last I checked, Frost TK recently got nerfed, so this isn't going to be correct, but last I checked, it was like 20 to 30k ahead of us on 2 to 3 targets, which is kind of ridiculous to me. So it's like, you know, why bring the Windwalker when you can just, you know, bring a Frost DK?
Well, right now, I mean, we get into that in like one more topic, but it kind of feels like unless you're a rogue, there's no reason to bring agility DPS to your raid right now. Like strength DPS is just so well and beyond.
Yeah, and I would actually say we're probably going to be really strong in Archimond because especially most of the time during Archimond you do have 2 or 3 targets up versus a huge AoE fest. So I actually think Windwalker is going to be fantastic for dealing with mechanics in that fight.
Right.
Yeah, because you could just clone the boss, clone the red Doomguard, and sit on the green Doomguard for interrupts, because you get to be a triple priority target instead of other people who have to actually target to be a priority target. You're just like, there's 3 of me.
Does Storm, Earth, and Fire have GCD, or is it just off the GCD?
It's off GCD.
And you just use, I would assume most Windwalker monks use like a mouse over macro to throw their clone at something.
Absolutely.
Right.
If you don't, then you're not using it right.
Well, there you go then.
Because otherwise you're pretty much making a GCD for yourself whenever you're casting, because you have to tab and hit it.
Sure. If Hina's in chat, you can probably throw out a weak or a link or something like that, or the macro rather, sorry, to track your SEF. That'd be really nice to help for chat room. And
yeah,
of course, it'll be in the YouTube description.
Kind of to add what someone just said in chat room, because they're absolutely correct, is that Storm, Earth, and Fire is extremely flaky on a lot of things. For example, if one of the ads or whatever just running around, it's just kind of chase it around. If you hit Fist of Fury, your clone is like, oh, I'm not going to use that today. Forget that. And they're just going to run around. So in theory, they're really wonderful, but in execution, they're kind of bad. They should really be kicked out of the raid.
Do they?
They're like,
they Storm Spirit, you're done.
It's weird to me because it seems like it's like a pet AI thing, right? Where like I think they've worked on Hunter pet AI really well, like with the movement and how they react to boss movement, because it kind of feels like pets always want to be in like that back 40-degree cone. So if they're moving around to that cone or trying to catch up to a moving mob, they do nothing. So it's kind of like Storm Elemental right now with enhancement.
Absolutely. So basically, that's exactly what it is that they're basically kind of like guardian spirits, etc.
Right.
Which, if Blizzard ever hired me and, you know, I went and coded it up, it should really just be copying the damage as a dot, not as an actual pet following the thing around, because that just doesn't make sense, and it's not going to make sense to someone reading the tooltip. Granted, we can go into a whole podcast about Windwalker tooltips, but I won't go there.
You mean the Windwalker paragraphs? Paragraphs of Windwalker. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're small novels in each. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Some of them, and some of them aren't even correct.
Right.
Well, the devs have confirmed, which is a weird thing to confirm with your own game, that tooltips lie. So, whatever that's worth. So, how about DPS spec viability now? Dual wield or two-hander? This is a big thing that just came up recently. Like they buffed two-hand, I think, was how it worked. So how is the differentiating point between two-handing and dual-wielding? Is it just an eye-level thing? Is it a certain stat value on the two-hander versus the one-handers? How does this work out?
So
Iryshe,
at equal eye level, a two-hander is better than two one-handers for a single target. And then in AoE, haste is better than either. So whatever's... I mean, to a certain point, like say your staff is like 715 and your two one-handers are 700, you're going to take the staff just for the straight weapon damage. But yeah, for a single target, the two-hander is up by like, it's 2 or 3%-ish? Question mark? I don't know the exact math on it.
That doesn't sound like it to be that much of a big deal.
Yeah, it's pretty insignificant overall.
Huh.
I mean, it's still a min-maxy thing, but it's not like, oh my god, you're using two one-handers, you're so bad, kick.
Yeah, and to be honest, I love two-handed monk just because I get to have swords and I think it looks cool.
Right.
But to be honest, from a raiding perspective, it's so much nicer just to have to farm one warforged weapon, you know, the one that never dropped.
Sure, yeah.
One enchant.
Yeah, one enchant, one warforged, not having to go, okay, at this certain item level, you know, which enchant do I want on my offhand? No. Two-hand's so much easier.
So there's not a loss of anything important for going from one enchant to two? Like, that doesn't really matter too much? Just because the way that two-handing and dueling balances itself out?
Everything we've tested shows that it's not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, everything we tested took into account for the enchants and all that.
Huh.
I think that's why when in AoE, when you're equipping two one-handers with haste, it's better just because of the haste enchants for more energy for more chi explosions.
Oh. I guess it's weird you bring up haste in that regard too, because as the tier has evolved, that's probably not as much of a thing, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, I guess you kind of went over this. I guess, I don't know what is the goal of a Windwalker monk really? Like, because we just did Feral Druids recently, and they basically, like, don't even have to worry about AoE very much. Their class just basically tunnels bosses or tunnels the priority target. Whereas, so where does, like, Windwalker fall into that? Like, should you be tunneling bosses? Should it be not Storm Earth and Firing if there's only, like, 2 targets up? Or should you always take advantage of that, like, split cleave, sort of, like, AoE spreading, like, meta, I guess? Like, what does a Windwalker bring to a raid right now, Calli? Like, how does that work?
Let's take Hellfire Council. You've got 2 that are stacked up and 1 that's off to the side. I'm going to tunnel all 3 of those. Unless, you know, we're about to push Dia a little bit early, you should certainly have a clone on her because that's kind of what our niche is we're the melee that can cleave from far away because it's a 40-yard range on SCF. So, yeah, that's what I would say. You want to tunnel 3 targets. I would say you do kind of want to focus a little bit on your AoE, but you're not going to do as well in AoE as other classes. And by AoE, I'm talking about 3 targets. So you're going to be focusing your cleave, I guess would be a better way to put it.
Yeah, so, like, what about a fight, say, with, like, Iskar? Would you basically just clone, or would you not clone the, like, on the first wave, you only have the Talon Priest. So would you even really focus on AoE priority, or would you just tunnel the Talon Priest?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to AoE that, just like everyone else. It's still going to be a game.
Nuke.
Okay.
Yeah.
I put myself on the Talon Priest and my 2 friends on whatever I want, and then I nuke. And then with the second group, you have the Talon Priest and the Construct. So I clone that. So when everything else is dead, I can cancel one of my clones, or if they're still up, I can swap to Iskar if he's coming down. And so there's still significant amounts of damage going down on those. And then on the third wave, when it's the Talon Priest, the Construct, and the Birdie, it's the only 3. You don't even have to do your AoE. You can do single target rotation on them with like Serenity or something if you have that up, and you're doing like way more damage than anyone else on all 3 of those targets, and they all need to die. Sure. So like the Feral Druid can focus on killing the ones in order, but I'm gonna just nukeify all of them. That's not a word.
Nukeify. I like it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I get that.
Yeah, so I think one thing to relay is, this actually happened up during Mythic Dharmak progression, is that I was very low on the meters. I wasn't bottom, but I was very low, and my guild was like, oh, you know, should we bench you? Should we bring in a hunter? I'm like, look at the boss damage and the spear damage, because I was running Serenity because I knew that it's more important in that fight at our item level to get the spears down and get the boss down, and that's what a Windwalker should be doing. Even if they're, you know, low on the meter, they shouldn't be beaten by tanks, mind you. That would be a little bit ridiculous.
Sure.
Is that you know, you have to pick out the targets that are priority. Hey, they're probably going to be competitive with your boomkins on them, and that's kind of a big deal because boomkins are pretty strong right now on anything that has multiple targets. So, you know, you can't just look at Skada and say, oh, Windwalker's weak. You have to look at their priority targets as well.
And then on Mythic, when he jumps off the mount, you're once again, there's two of you and nuking them both down. You're beating everyone in damage on both of them at that point. Because they're going to be
and
right
then Touch of Death.
And then Touch of Death.
And Touch of Death. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's a good situation. It really looks like on almost any encounter, unless it's literally like Zakuun or Iron Reaver when she's on the ground phase, that you're basically just Storm Earth and firing almost anything you can, as long as it is a priority. And that's the one thing about Hellfire Citadel that is really reigning true, is that there may be a lot of AoE, but a lot of the AoE is a trap, especially for like ranged DPS right now. All you're doing is tunneling priority targets one after another. Whereas, like, the melee sort of get, like, the cleave AoE jobs.
Yeah.
So it I mean, I don't have a Windwalker Monk in the guild right now for HFC, so I have no idea, like, what, you know, how their damage propagates or how it feels to have one. So, haven't had one since Highmaul. So, but it's good to sound like you don't have a struggle there, where you're like, I am bad at these 11 fights, but these 2 I'm really good at. Which
no,
is,
you have your burst AoE with Chi Burst and Spinning Crane Kick for like the grasping hands on Corn Dog. And then you have your cleave with your Storm with Fire and your Fist of Fury and your Chi Explosion. You have your single target. Once you get Soul Capacitor and your 4-set in the Draconic Incense, you deal a lot of single target damage.
Yeah, so the other side of... Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Don't mean to cut you off. The other side is we also have a lot of on-demand burst in terms of Tiger Eye Brew. If you spec into Chi Brew, which grants you 2 Chi as well as 3 to 6 Tiger Eye Brew, that's actually quite a lot of burst that we can do. So think of something like Spine of Deathwing, where you have to nuke something down super fast.
Right.
Windwalker is what you're going to want to go with, because we don't have to wait, you know, a minute or 2 or a minute and a half necessarily. So for fights like Mythic Blast Furnace, we were pretty good because we could actually sit there and just nuke it down. In fact, we could even put SDF clones on 1 or 2 other ads, nuke down the Elementalist, and be good to go.
Yeah, it was every single pull I was beating everyone by significant margins on the Elementalist damage, because I would just save a 20-stack Tiger Eye Brew and just go to town.
And you would just chain them back to back, right? So you would drink 10 stacks and drink
And by
10
that
stacks.
time you have like 10 more stacks, so you got 30 stacks of Tiger Eye Brew, just nuking down the priority the only thing that needs to die right now. You got it.
That brings up like a side point. Or do you have something else, Calli? Or
no?
Because I wanted to know with... I don't know. I guess I'll leave that for later. Because it always feels like when I look through the class, sort of how all the damage comes from, and where you have all your pluses and minuses and whatever, or in this case, all pluses, where you have so many like stacking damage modifiers, like a lot of power creep. Is that just kind of how Windwalker is going to be? Do you feel like it should be a little lessened in that regard? Like, you need this debuff to add damage, this stance to add damage, this modifier for what weapons you're using, this buff to add your damage. Like, do you need all those compounding things?
I wouldn't be surprised, because consider for a moment the lack of abilities that we actually got removed in Warlords. In other words, we really didn't have any pruning happen. Oh, we lost our disarm, which actually did make me a little bit sad, because that was a damage gain for us.
We lost Clash! Well, Brewmaster.
Yeah,
I know.
Clash.
That's Brewmaster. I'll talk about it on the Brewmaster podcast.
You're right.
But we didn't really lose terribly many abilities, and I would actually say that we have a buff to maintain, we have a debuff to maintain, we have clones to maintain, we have other things to maintain, we have maintenance on our maintenance, basically.
A lot of chores.
Yeah, so I think it's actually made it very difficult for them to balance us, so I wouldn't actually be surprised. You know, they came out and said that they want to change the way that certain specs play for other classes. I wouldn't be surprised if Windwalker's kind of on that list, and that's part of why our damage is a little bit low right now, because if you look at logs right now, yes, we are low, just being very realistic here. But I wouldn't be surprised if we are looking at a change, because, for example, they wanted in this patch to actually balance the secondaries for a lot of classes.
Right.
They found they couldn't balance Windwalker Mastery to actually make us want it.
Right.
So
yeah,
they tried for a minute there and they reverted it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some major changes in 7.0.
So I guess that brings me right into the next one, is how do you feel that the melee DPS hierarchy is currently then? You talked about how Windwalker is low right now to be realistic, so where in your rating experience now so far, and of course things will obviously change as more gear gets geared up and more trinkets get looted, more items happen, because the new scaling eye level thing, how is the melee situation right now? Where would you put Windwalker in the hierarchy, Calli?
Well, we're above enhancement shamans.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is like some soft shots fired right here. I get it.
Hey, keep in mind, I love enhancement.
Mm.
It was my main for many, many years. But yeah, I would say we're actually kind of low on the totem pole. We don't have a true, we don't have a Cloak of Shadows, basically. We don't have a Feint. Our cleave is good, but DK cleave right now is better.
Right.
You know, and we don't have burst AoE, and warriors and rets have that. So right now it's basically the strength users are kind of king of the cave, for lack of a better term.
No, yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Iryshe?
I think that I'm not as much of a, excuse the dog, like, Windwalkers are still, like, I think you should have at least one, but probably not two, because you are sacrificing a bit, but we do have our diffuse magic, our Zen meditation for, like, last bit of Chrome Rock. When you want to soak all those empowered runes, you can just fly across the room in the goop. You don't even care. You've got triple priority target, which is no other class has that. They have to sacrifice something to do priority damage on 3 targets.
Right.
Like, we're very strong, but like we don't have the crazy numbers that like a Blade Storm has, or like a Frost Mage right now is being crazy too.
And cleave is pretty good, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, the glyph of splitting icicles or whatever, it's disgusting. And then Arcane Mage with their 4 sets, stupid powerful right now as well. Oh no, I'll have to see, because I don't have Soul Capacitor or my 4 set yet. But once I get that, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to beat some people.
Yeah, you'll be able to go to town with the 4 set at least. Do you have the class trinket yet?
Yes, I rolled it.
Yeah, that's gonna get civil with your team.
Yeah, Kelly banned me from the IRC because I was bragging. I
didn't ban you. I kicked you.
I cast
Get out of here.
Rising Sun Kick 22 times ish, and I got an extra 24 procs of Rising Sun Kick for the trinket. I was like, this trinket's amazing.
So then it sounds, I mean, based on that little banter right there. So based from tier 17 balancing points, is tier 18 looking like it's helping the slump? Is it like improving Windwalker then?
Tier 18 sort of takes away from, or not takes away, but changes it so you're not, once you have your tier set, obviously you get away from that slower Windwalker where you're energy starved a lot. You're trying to hold on to that bit of energy for that extra jab before Fist of Fury comes off cooldown. In tier 18, you just have infinity combo breakers, and therefore infinity Tiger Eye Brew. It's crazy. Like when I was doing testing on PTR, I was like, what is going on? I have so many, but I'm a ret monk.
Yeah, that's what we said.
When I was on PTR, I was like, I think I'm just gonna bind everything to like Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick. I don't think I even need jab anymore.
You really don't. It's terrible.
I mean,
I like it personally, but
awesome.
A lot of people hated it because it's very much like our original rotation in Mist of Pandaria.
Yeah, when you can just Mist of Pandaria, when you get like 14,000 haste and you don't even care. You're just pressing buttons as fast as you can.
Right.
Yep.
So then I guess you want to break down some of the fights in Hellfire Citadel that you'll be really strong on, Iryshe, and then I'll get Calli to break down fights you'll be kind of map on.
So I wouldn't say Iron Reaver would be, well, okay, let's start from number 1. Hellfire, the first trash pull of Hellfire Citadel.
The first trash pull. Yeah.
When we were doing it, it was like I felt really strong. Like I wasn't number 1 because I wasn't just spinning crane kick lol AoE damages. Like I was on the tank, or one of my clones was on the tank, one of my clones was on the brute, and I was on the Fellcaster. So you, like I said, you have that triple priority target. You don't have to, as long as they're close together, you're not sacrificing anything to do triple priority target damage. And those all 3 need to die, because the brute will destroy your tank, the Fellcaster will destroy everyone else. And you always save a touch of death for the Fellcaster. So in that fight, you really want a Windwalker, not because they're just going to Logasm Blade Storm, but because they're going to kill the targets that need to die. Like, who cares about Dragoon damage?
Right, exactly.
Hellfire's, not Hellfire, Iron Reaver, I can see monks being strong just from like when you have soul capacitor during your opener in Serenity, you can touch a death that bomb that always lands at the boss's foot when it gets low, and then all your warlocks are like, "Hey, look, target's a kill," and they all shadow burn the bomb. So all of your soul eruption from that touch of death hits the boss for like 1,000,000. It's disgusting. And then Chrome Rock, I don't feel is particularly disgusting because the warriors and them, they all nuke the hands, and I'm like, but I'm doing boss damage. Then Council, of course, is crazy just because it's triple target priority.
Triple target, yeah.
God mode. All right, you can talk now, Calli.
Okay, well, I kind of agree with you on Cormac. I don't think that we're going to be as strong on him just because, as you said, he's basically a single target and then a burst AoE fight. So, yeah, yay, warriors, have fun. Hellfire High Council.
Let's go.
Yeah, Hellfire High Council will be pretty strong on. Kilrog we can be depending on how long your group actually has the add up, because that is still, that turns into a 2-target cleave, in addition to which we can throw our adds on the blood globules if there's one getting particularly close to the boss. It's like, hey, yeah, we just saved the raid. Great.
Or save like a clutch death to death.
Yeah, basically, which I've been saving mine actually for the adds. For Gorfine, we're actually not... We're okay, I think, because of the fact that we can just quickly throw a clone out on the adds that spawn out there. I don't think we're okay on the stomach. It's just that we don't have, well, with Tiger Eye we can burst it down pretty well, but I think other classes are slightly better, especially your multi-dot classes.
I like the stomach for Windwalker just because you have your disable still, so you can root them like forever.
Oh, absolutely.
They can't get to the middle. You could just kill them, and also you could save 20 stacks of Tiger Eye for his Feast of Souls phase when he takes 100% damage.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different ways that we're actually really strong in there, but I think part of it is also just we can throw clones out on adds. It's like, oh, there's an add up. Okay, stay on boss, you know.
Go, my minion.
Yeah. Ishkar?
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say, does your clone have like a restriction on like distance, or does it like automatically spawn
40.
wherever you're throwing it?
40 yards.
Okay. And is it
so
actually,
basically,
like,
you run in within 40 yards and then run out. Good to go.
Okay.
Shadow Lord Iskar, I think we're okay here. We're just not amazing. The thing is that we can kind of overpower the Phantasmal Winds so that we can be basically the last target for the orb. The other thing is that I kind of see where we're kind of, we're okay, is that we don't have the AoE that a lot of other classes do for the adds, but we can burst down the single target priority. So I think we're a good choice. We just may not be the best choice necessarily. There's just a lot that's in our favor. For Socrathar, I think it's kind of the same thing, because this one kind of turns into an ad fight with the boss. So I think for that one, yeah, we're okay, but other classes are likely going to be better. Zakun, we can deal with his mechanics extremely well because of our mobility and our cooldowns, basically. The thing to remember, though, is a lot of other classes also have mobility and cooldowns. So, you know, it's kind of a toss-up there, too, of, you know, do you want the Windwalker who can teleport in and out and is only using 1 or 2 GCDs? Or do you want the rogue that can sprint out and then just shadow step? So there's that choice.
Why not both?
And have feint up for the damage you take when you're soaking. Yeah.
Keep in mind, rogue CDs are very powerful.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, the guy can't pronounce who does the imps and the fire and all the things. I think he's like Zul'Horak or something.
Zul'Horak, yeah.
Zul'Horak.
Yeah.
Again, you know, that's kind of a burst AoE / single target fight. I don't think that we're as strong as other classes, but I think we're very strong in terms of the fact that, you know, we can just go soak the fire if you have to clear fire real quick. Whenever we did it on Hero, we didn't really have to clear fire, but, you know, if you wind up in a place where you can, your monk can go out there, or you can have your rogue Cloak of Shadows or whatever. Yeah. So, again, it's kind of a toss-up between what classes you want. In that case, I would actually probably go with the rogue, since I think their AoE is a lot stronger than Windwalker right now. Velhari.
Sorry.
Yep. I think Windwalkers are actually very strong for Velhari. Did you want to take this one?
Velhari is awesome.
Yeah,
because aside from the last bit where the ad shields Velhari, you're not sacrificing your single target to have a clone up on the ad if they're on top of each other. So like you're just constantly going at it, especially in the phase where your health is constantly getting lower, and you can't heal up. Like being able to just have your clone out and still be able to do more single target that way is really strong, because that ad's health is going down for later, and you're still dealing all your damage to the boss without sacrificing anything.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, well, because in the first 2 phases of Ahara, you don't really ever kill the ad, but you can clone the first one, then clone the second one, so you're dealing damage to all 3 of them eventually, too. Opposed to actually, like, classes that just, like, have rampant extra AoE that happens, or you know, intermittent cleave, you're literally attacking all 3 of them. So, and then, of course, with the priority ad in phase 3, you could actually tunnel it with your clone on the boss, I would assume.
Well, you don't put your clone on the boss because the ad in phase 3 shields the boss.
Exactly, yeah. That's true, too, yeah. Like
or maybe it's, like, bugged, like, on, third boss of Siege of Orgrimmar.
I can't remember that place. Don't talk about that place.
You mean the place is blocked out of memory?
Yeah, it's just gone. What is that? Is that a raid in this game? Is that a raid?
Was that a 5-man?
Yeah.
Third boss of Siege of Orgrimmar, you had a damage reduction versus the boss if you had corruption, but your clone didn't. So I wonder if that might be the case for Tyrant.
Yeah, Narusha in this chat room catches up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if it reduces. I mean, it's a shield that reduces all damage incoming by like 90%.
Yeah, probably wouldn't work. That's just hopeful thinking right there.
Yeah. In before, right? We already have went over Archimonde a lot. I mean, and in Manaroth, I guess.
Manaroth's awesome. Phase 1, you can put a clone on one of the summoners, and then teleport over to another summoner and be nuking down 2 at the same time.
You can't do all 3 though. Too far.
No. Well, I mean, you could, but like I like to stay with the group for when the imps come out to be able to leg sweep them or AoE silence them because I'm a blood elf and I'm pretty.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
fine.
Then the other part of that people forget about why we're strong in Manaroth, he does the Helm of Command, and we can cast Tiger's Lust on someone that may not have a speed increase up.
That's true.
So
that's true.
That's one thing to keep in mind.
I'm not sure if they changed it or not, because one of the guys who's playing an alt Windwalker was saying they may have changed it, but you were able to diffuse off the Manaroth's gaze early on top of people, so you can still continue to deal damage.
Does that actually work to remove? Because not a lot of things remove that.
It was
debuff.
working like last week and the week before. It was working. I'm not sure if they changed it or not. Because one of the guys who was playing an alt Windwalker was saying it wasn't working for him, and I was like, but it was working for me, and I wish it would work so much. Because when we kill it on heroic, the last set of empowered Manaroth's gazes and the last bit where they drop the poop on the ground,
yes.
like they just like, okay, the last 3 you're just gonna suicide, and I'm like, nope, diffuse magic.
Yeah.
Huh. That sounds pretty good. I'm just saying. There's not a lot of the classes that can actually deal with Gaze of the Abyss really well, or deal with the, like you said, Helm of Command, or the Void Push, or whatever the hell it's called. Really beneficial. I mean, can you almost ignore the whole thing? Like, does Nimble Brew work? Does Roll work? Or does
Nimble Brew does work for the fear. But
it was Nimble Brew with the fear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you touch your karma early, and then you Nimble Brew.
Wow.
Yep.
Does it actually reflect the damage properly?
Oh, yeah.
Not bad.
Awesome.
Not bad at all. That doesn't work on a lot of abilities, because like Dark Simulacrum and Touch of Karma sort of either always work or like never work on anything. So
Touch of Karma is, I think, a lot better in that it tends to almost always work. In fact, there have been times where it works even past a shield. I was actually a little bit sad that they fixed that for the Primal Elementalists on Blast Furnace, but you know.
What you gotta do.
Yeah. Win some, lose some.
Exactly. Alright then, well that sounds all pretty... I guess there's not really any encounters that you feel like you're... there's a couple in there, I guess, but even...
Yeah, it more comes down to... Yeah, like I said early on, Windwalkers are in a good spot, it's just that other classes are in a better spot.
Yeah, well, you know, hey. Cloak of Shadows and Feint are totally balanced, Blizzard. Keep them as they are right now. I'm totally not being facetious.
Totally. Immunities are completely balanced because, sadly, Cloak of Shadows is not the only immunity.
I love it in World PvP. When I go to Touch of Death, a hunter, they just deterrence and nothing happens. It's amazing. So balanced.
I want to jump into some mathy stuff real quick here. We'll glaze over some Tier 17 after this, but let's do Windwalker stats. So we're looking at your mastery is called Bottled Fury, which is, I guess, a weird point right now with you guys. When you generate Tiger Eye Brew charges, you have a XX% chance to generate additional charges based on your mastery. And, of course, every 4 chi used is 1 charge of Tiger Eye Brew. So it's not like a direct damage increase. It just gives you more Tiger Eye Brew charges. So, like, is this good?
It's bad. It's our worst stat. It's
Bad
worth
to go
half of
for.
any other stat.
It's bad. Oh,
It's
man.
good
It's
in
because you can
practice.
either have like
Yeah.
all this mastery and deal no damage, or deal all this damage and hey, your Tiger Eye Brew still works.
Yeah, it's still a gain. For example, if you get really lucky procs, which again it adds in a lot of RNG to our spec,
Sure.
then you can go into your burst, your initial burst whenever you open up with 10 stacks of Tiger Eye Brew, hit Serenity and Fist of Fury, and basically burst up to, I don't know, 200k sometimes.
Yep.
Or you can be like basically every kill where you get no procs of mastery, and so you're going in with maybe 6 stacks if you're lucky.
Yep.
Which that's when you know it's going to be a kill because you didn't get the good RNG
Or
procs.
5.
Yeah.
I've done a 5 before.
Yeah, and then you cry a little bit on the inside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so do you think that this needs to be reworked completely? Like, Tiger Eye Brew seems to be a thing that, like, even, like, set bonuses and stuff like that, and, like, the Archimon Trinket now sort of helps propagate itself to just have more. So why is, like, the mastery there just to give you more charges? Do you think it should be something else? I don't think it should be, like, a flat damage increase on stuff, because you already have so many of those in the first place. So
That's what it was in 5.2.
Or should they?
Yeah,
Or
our Throne of Thunder was actually it increases the amount of damage that that you get from Tiger Eye Brew per stack. So
Yeah,
it had
yeah,
a baseline of
yeah.
2%, and then it increased with mastery.
Remember
That was actually fairly well balanced. It still wasn't a stat that we necessarily wanted per se, but it wasn't completely useless.
But then Roro came in and they're like, your mastery's broken. We got to change it now because you could use one trinket and be a god. Just don't make a dumb trinket.
Meanwhile, we ignore druids, who used Roro forever.
Yeah, they use Roro through Garrosh mythic or heroic progression.
Well,
Yeah.
we're not gonna talk about reorganization right now because that thing was
That's so 2 tiers ago.
I know,
3
jeez.
tiers ago.
But I
But yeah.
guess I almost wonder if your mastery should be what it is now, but remove the baseline 4chi=1 charge of Tiger Eye. So you actually would want to care about it because it's the way you generate Tiger Eye Brew, right? Or would that be too pigeonholed? Because
I think that would hurt
I
our
think-
burst.
I think
Quite
we
a
can
lot,
make the math
actually.
work.
Yeah. And plus, then they would actually have to code something up that's kind of completely different. So that I think
Right.
that would actually change a very major part of the class in terms of how we generate our Tiger Eye Brew.
right,
So,
it just sounds like it should be like whenever you spend a chi, and then each chi you spend up to 4 increases the amount that your mastery affects a chance to gain multiple charges. So what if you could gain like almost 4 Tiger Eye Brew charges off of 1 4 chi ability based on if your mastery is a high stat, So you can almost like stack up full mastery after like 4, to 8, maybe to 10 chi used. Because right now it just seems like it's kind of just extra randomness, where you can sometimes you gain 1, sometimes you gain 2. Yay!
RNG is fun.
Hey! Yeah.
I love having my rotation or my damage be completely out of my control, even if I do the same rotation.
You sound
Yeah.
like a boomkin.
Oh my god, boomkins! Don't. I tested
little
those on
more
PTR, and I was
extreme.
like, "What is this?"
A little more extreme with boomkins right now, where you're literally riding a roller coaster, and if you miss part of the roller coaster, you just it's gone. So, yeah, I guess it's a weird point right now. Your attunement, however, is a bit of a huge one. Battle Trance, you get 15% more multi-strike from all sources. So the follow-up question to that is, where do your stat priorities lie in the 5 secondary stats? I'm gonna guess multi-strike. I'm just spitballing here, but I'm gonna guess multi-strike being high up there in your priority list, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty high. That's only our 3rd stat after agility
Yeah,
and
I mean,
weapon
it's
DPS.
okay.
Oh, right, okay. So where does so Calli, where does the 5 secondaries fall into play? Like most wanted to least? Oops, sorry.
It depends on your level 100 talent, of course. So going by single target, you're typically going to be using Serenity. So at that point, you want multi-strike and then versatility, which is only about a hair above crit. So they're almost even. And then after that is haste, and then strength, and then intellect, and then mastery.
Wait.
Intellect.
Confirmed.
Okay, you probably don't actually want int or strength, but
You gotta
yeah.
be a smarter monk.
Gosh, man. Like it's a pretty poor spot for mastery. I mean, everyone has a different. It's funny though because only like 2 classes in the game even care about versatility that high. But since Windwalker Monk is so like flat plus damage oriented, and versatility is just hey, it's flat plus damage.
Here's
So-
more of that
Yeah,
stuff you love.
basically.
Yeah, more
And
stuff
also
you love.
because the other stats don't really give us much. Multi-strike is only our highest stat because of the fact that we get 5% extra from the attunement. If it weren't, then versatility would probably be our #1 stat. So, and then the other side of that is if you spec into Chi Explosion, then haste pops up to just being under multi-strike.
Interesting. Yeah, we have here, Hina put some notes down here. So pre-tier 18 Mythic, you want multi-strike to 59%. And then for single target, for AoE, it's haste versatility, and then that equals crit, and then like 17 Pac-Man faces, better than mastery.
Waka, 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 waka.
And then in tier 18, gear, multi-strike again to 59%, and then versatility, crit, haste, and then eventually mastery.
Yep.
And then it's what's the reason why you want 59% multi-strike exactly?
That's roughly where we estimate. Sorry, that's roughly where we estimate our cap is for multi-strike.
Especially because we have an internal proc called Tiger Strikes, which gives us 35, 45, 35%.
35.
35, yes.
So, and then that just compounds on the 15% buff from the battle trance.
Right.
It's just like, at that point, you're going to go over 100% multi-strike. You don't get an extra one.
Right. And you can only actually get that 59% magic number in, like, Mythic Tier 18 gear, though? Like, it's not obtainable right now, apparently. So, okay.
We're now at 49.
49? Yeah, extra eye level probably need the extra 10%. That's a long way to go, technically. It's a lot of rating.
Yeah. That's
There are a
actually
lot of stats on this gear.
Oh, it's true? Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking back at tier 17 real quick, in case people are still obviously wearing the battle gear of the Somber Gaze, your 2-piece Fist of Fury generates 1 stack of Tiger Eye Brew.
Equipable.
All right.
Yep.
Equipable. And then while Tiger Eye Brew's damage effect is active on you, your multi-strike damage is increased by 3% per stack of TE be consumed, so 30% additional multi-strike damage.
It's a lot of damage.
In theory.
In theory, if you use, obviously, with 10 stacks.
If you get 10 stacks, yeah.
Right. So, Calli, good set bonuses? I mean, 4-piece?
Yeah, no, these were the first set bonuses that we actually wanted the 4 set from. So,
we're like, hey, look, damage.
Yeah, we got that going for us, which is kind of nice. Yeah, and then the newer ones, you can basically go your 2-piece with the tier 18 2-piece with your trinket, and it's actually a fairly good increase. They work extremely well together. But you definitely do want to go for your tier 18 4-piece whenever you can.
Fair enough. I mean, most monks might not probably still wearing their tier 17. Because, like, going into how the next tier looks like, I guess I mixed my question there in my head. So the battle wrap of Hurricane's Eye. So the first question, before I get into set bonuses and ask you, like, when you upgrade from, 4-piece pre-tier 17 to now, there was some kerfuffling in the webway about your design of your tier 18 set. Do you guys have any thoughts? Irish, do you think it looks good?
Oh, you mean the transmog? It's not
the transmog. The set looks like, what is the design? Like, it's a little bit simple, right? Is it good?
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna keep my tier 17 mythic look because that's a work of art. But I mean, it looks fine. It's not like spectacular. I mean, we're not hunters, like.
Nah, man, but
I actually like its simplicity.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
a nice set.
Just equip the Lore Worker tabard with the normal set because it's got that nice kind of yellow color. It looks really nice. The problem is that the Mythic Tier 17 has the glowing shoulder pads.
That's true.
Yeah, the animated shoulder pads are kind of hard to beat.
And the animated ponytail.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. It's just a weird looking set because it looks like your chest piece, just like a green shirt.
Yeah, it is.
Basically,
it looks like a nicely textured tunic. I thought,
Yeah, it looks nice. I don't actually like the mythic coloring for it.
Right. I mean, it gets a little wiki. Like your mop challenge mode set looked a little bit goofy to be like in battle, rolling around with these giant kegs on your shoulders and the keg on your belt, and looks kind of like. I think it looks a little bit.
You mean the one with the eye patch because you never transmugged the helm because
the helmet is terrible.
Yeah. I actually liked our CM set, but I never used that helm because it was just completely awful.
It was. So you would go with the tier 15 helm, the red
and
gold
no,
one?
Go with an eye patch. Eye patches are cool.
Eye patch is cool.
I do have the eye patch from the Brewfest.
Yeah. You could also, of course, do the blindfold. You always break out Illidan's blindfold.
I
That
can't
works.
get it.
Everyone does
I've done
that.
this place so many
Oh,
times.
no.
I can't get it.
So the battle rep of Hurricane's Eye, which is your tier 18, is that your 2-piece, your Rising Sun Kick has a 40% chance to generate Combo Breaker, which Combo Breaker states your next Tiger Palm or Blackout Kick is free of Chi. And then your 4-piece, which actually was hotfixed, the 40% chance is a 30% chance now. The 4-piece increases your chance to gain Combo Breaker by 15% and increases your maximum energy by a 20 base, which that 15% is additive to the 8% base, so you have a 23% chance to gain Combo Breaker. I mean, so Combo Breaker, right?
Yeah, basically, we got combo breakers for your combo breakers. Whenever you combo breaker, you get a combo breaker.
Ret Monk.
Ret Monk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing to know with that is that with our class trinket, that can actually generate a combo breaker, because what our class trinket does, and I know we haven't gotten into there, but we might as well do it right now.
Sure, go for it.
Every time you cast Fist of Fury, Blackout Kick, or a normal Rising Sun Kick, you have a chance for a Rising Sun Kick to basically be applied. That does not mean it's a reset. What it is that it applies it in the log. So you'll see the animation, it'll pop up on SCADA and in World of Logs. You don't have to do anything. However, that same one can still generate a combo breaker. So basically, you can hit your Blackout Kick combo breaker, get a Rising Sun Kick proc from your trinket, get a combo breaker Blackout Kick, use that, get a Rising Sun Kick proc from your trinket, and rinse and repeat.
It keeps going. It's disgusting.
Yes. The chances of that happening are extremely small, but it's
Sure, of
basically
course.
the same chance of one-shotting something with Wind Fury procs back in Burning Crusade as an enhancement shaman.
Right. No, it basically makes the Free Rising Sun Kick basically like a Wind Fury proc, more or less.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
also, it will include, to make sure we do this, apparently Hurricane Strike will also proc the Archimon Trinket.
Yeah, but no one uses that, so.
No, it uses it.
That's what I wanted to. Oh, that poor ability, man! It looks so cool. Oh,
It
well.
is. It's a fun
does
rotation,
looks
in my
awesome.
opinion, too.
So, and because I couldn't understand this yesterday when we were setting the show notes up, I want you to walk me through again how the Sacred Drainic Essence, which should be called the Sonic the Hedgehog trinket.
Yeah.
So you have a chance, an XX% chance, a double energy chance to perform a free Rising Sun Kick after each Fist of Fury, Blackout Kick, or normal Rising Sun Kick, or Hurricane Strike. But of course, it also works with Chi Burst because it replaces Blackout Kick.
Chi Explosion.
Chi Explosion, sorry. Normal percentage is 18.9, Heroic is 21.7, and Mythic is 25.04. But it sort of has a weird interaction with Chi using abilities or a flat ability. So how does that work, Irish?
So on a Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, or Fists of Fury, on the Fist of Fury, it has that base chance it lists on the trinket on the last tick of Fist of Fury. And Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick both proc it just based on the trinket chance. Your Chi Explosion and Hurricane Strikes have a half of the trinket. So say it's 25 on the trinket, you have a 12.5% chance per Chi used on the ability, and it's all a separate roll as well. Yay, complication. It's not even on the tooltip.
Yeah, you guys had to figure that out.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
Math.
well, at
Yeah, I'm
least
sitting there in beta. It's like, oh, I hit my combo breaker Blackout Kick. Wait, why do I have another one? What just happened? Go through logs. Oh, okay. That makes
Oh,
sense.
this is fun.
Yeah, it's a weird interaction. It almost makes, because I thought originally that it was going to be more or less the Mythic version with a Chi Explosion almost guarantees you. Because you have four
it's
rolls.
4 separate rolls
of
at
12.
12.5%.
Exactly. So,
So you can
almost
still
it's-
totally not get it. But
Right, of course you totally couldn't.
You
Yeah.
can get 4, which would be amazing because something would just die.
Yeah. Would you really actually have 4 kicks fly out of your face?
Am I wrong in saying that, Calli?
I believe that's correct.
That's
I'd have
ridiculous.
to recheck logs.
Doesn't Celestion have some
Hina's
tweet on that,
probably over
Hina?
there, like,
Wow.
come on, guys, get it right.
Hina,
But-
to the chat room.
Yeah, because that means with Hurricane Strike, he uses 3 Chi. You could essentially have your 3 Hurricane Strike hits, and then each hit can proc Rising Sun. So you're like, just like, literally like you're a Kung Fu movie in that 2-second window. But
Yeah,
again, no one
I-
uses Hurricane Strike, so, you know.
Yeah, I do seem to recall having used a 4 Chi Explosion and getting a couple of different RSK procs, but my memory's a little bit fuzzy on
Hina
that
says
because I was this
Hina
far.
says I'm correct.
Okay, yeah.
Correct, okay. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, that just seems...
It's incredibly fun. I was super excited going into this
It's
tier.
laughably fun. It's so much fun.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks
Unfortunately,
like
this tier hit. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. It looks like a really strong trinket because a lot of classes have had issues with their class trinkets because if the bonus is not stronger than like Soul Capacitor or Blade Storm trinket or even like the sensor that has like a base secondary and like a proc, then you just math. That's why the enhanced shaman one just got buffed again because it wasn't that good.
Right.
Now the normal version of it is as strong as the old mythic version of it, but you know, hey, that's but yeah, so that's a good thing to see that at least you're all happy with it. Are you gonna? Is it almost use it on every fight, like put it on and forget about it?
Almost. I think that we kind of still have some discussion about the Blade Master trinket, the one that basically it drops down 4 little things that do a ton of AoE damage. But that one plus Soul Capacitor, I think, are very strong. The problem with the Blade Master trinket is that they don't move, and in a raid environment, you're very rarely going to be sitting still.
Sure, of course.
My problem with the Blade Master trinket is it doesn't work with Tiger Eye Brew. It's just a flat amount of damage.
Yeah.
Right.
So it kind of takes away from that skill cap of the class.
To my knowledge, the Blade Master little clones of you will spin faster, will pulse faster based on your haste, and they do damage based on your attack power. And that's all the stats they get. They do attack power based coefficient, and they spin faster based on your haste. Yeah.
They just look at your character sheet. You have X amount of attack power. Okay, we're gonna do this much damage, and it won't take into effect the increased attack power from Tiger Eye Brew.
Yeah, right. It is quite a lot of damage, and it's actually very good burst AoE.
It does do a lot of damage.
Oh no, sure, absolutely. I mean, it scales with scales with heroism or bloodlust. It'll scale with like elemental mastery, click for like enhanced shaman or elemental shaman, like that talent. Not you're using on elemental, but it has a weird interaction with hunters right now, where they only get 2 for some reason, because I think they work differently with like pet damage modifiers or some garbage. But
I think it's still like the hunter's best in the slot.
To be fair, the hunters are a little bit limited because they can't use Soul Capacitor because it relies on melee mage. So
correct.
I kind of feel bad for my hunter buddies.
No way, man. Get the Soul Capacitor, get to proc, and then disengage into the boss, boom, and then disengage back out all the time.
Yeah, but now they don't have Fox,
I know. They're like a ninja. Yeah, exactly.
Ripperonis.
Yeah, I know. But I don't think hunters need it right now. I think marksman's pretty good. I'm just going to say pretty good right now. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that they do multi-strike.
Yes.
So there's that.
They'll multi-strike, of course. Weapon enchant preference? Tier 18? Multi-strike?
Crap,
or crit or multi-strike?
I typically go for multi-strike. If you are kind of hitting that level of multi-strike where you're capped out, some people end up finding that crit is better, but it's a toss-up. I mean, it's very rare that you're actually going to hit cap and have your your tiger strikes up at the same time as your weapon enchant. So
true. Yeah.
I'm just running into that problem with capping right now because I have the Beating Heart of the Mountain still as my off trinket.
Right.
So that I'm used to bazillion multi-strike. It's kind of ugh. So I've been thinking about going for a crit enchant right now. I was taking crit food the other day because I was just like, I'm like 115% right now. Like nothing's happening when I'm up here.
Yeah, well, that makes you wonder. You're not holding the high mall multi-strike trinket around, are you?
I'm using it.
No, Scales of Doom, no.
Oh God, no.
No, okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean,
the other ones were.
There are some tomfoolery around right now that you should actually use that trinket on certain classes for Gorefiend Mythic because of the damage bonus and the amount of multi-strikes you can get based on your class. It's pretty good for sub-rogues. I don't know, but we'll see if that pans
playing
out.
sub anymore?
I could see that.
Right. I don't know. That's why I was wondering if like
Not for
having
monks, but I could see it for the other class maybe.
Right. I just didn't know if it was like a redonkulous amount of multi-strike matters for that burn phase. That's why.
Because we can already get above 100 very easily.
Sure.
With the other trinket and just our internal proc where we don't have to play that game.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So where does the sensor fall in line? The malicious sensor? Is that like a good jumping off point, or do you want to get the Soul Capacitor plus Monk trinket? Basically.
If you can get Soul Capacitor plus Monk trinket, the other one just doesn't exist. I mean, right. I personally like it. It's static, multi-strike with an agi proc, and who doesn't like an agi proc? But the other ones are just more interesting and more damage.
Like the malicious sensor could do better in an AoE situation per se, but like say it's Manaroth and all the imps spawn and the Death Knight grips them all in, and your Soul Capacitor procs, you do as much AoE damage as possible. You forget about your single target rotation.
Of course.
Because you're storing all of that. and then they're gonna die because everyone's like, "Hey, look, health bars! I'm gonna kill them all," and then they're all dead, and you pop on the boss for all of that damage, single target, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that is absolutely like the hidden skill cap with the soul capacitor. Is it kind of makes you want to scumbag when you can scumbag when it procs, if it procs in a certain period of time.
Yeah, because
so
you can then offer all of that damage to the boss.
Yeah,
right.
soul capacitor is either going to make you basically God on Azeroth, or the boss is going to run away, or whatever,
Oh my God.
and then you
or
just
Iron
cry in
Reaver
a
lifts
corner.
off and flies away, and it's like, come
yeah.
back!
No, there's
Yeah.
a huge inner working with the Bladestorm trinket for agility melee, as well as the soul capacitor. Whereas if you don't get your meteor effectively, you have just lost a quarter plus all the damage you just did in the last 10 seconds.
Yep.
Or if something moves out of the Bladestorm, you lose the whole duration of that trinket's effectiveness. So.
And that's whenever you basically delete your monk.
No!
Because you're just so
and walk
sad.
Yeah, it's cool that there's a point to that, though. That it's
I guess
fun.
it's like part of the skill cap, though.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's
I mean,
adding
yeah, it
to
does get to the point where if you know that you're about to face change, you probably will want to have a cancel aura, if you can fit it on your bars, of course.
Right.
Oh my God.
Fair enough. Anything else about stats or tier 18 or anything that you want to go over before I take us through a little bit of a break? Anything?
No? I mean, it's going to be a really fun tier just based off of our tier bonuses.
It sounds like it. It sounds like, I mean, you again, we'll get into glyphing, but apparently every monk should make sure they glyph the Rising Sun Kick glyph so that you become blue.
Yep.
And that's why it's called Sonic the Hedgehog trinket.
Yep.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Well, we'll take a quick minute to talk about some things behind the scenes, some communities, some announcements, some updates, and some stuff for chat room to know about in case they are unawares. So right now, if you're coming back to the game, or you're looking to get into tier 18 rating, or you're trying to find a new rating group, or you're trying to do something else with your time, Open Raid, I don't know if you know about this website, but is only better now because of the pre-made group finder tool. Currently, I just refreshed the site. There are 322 upcoming events, from old school raid runs to mist stuff to challenge modes to raiding right now. Open Raid is really good because not only do you create your profile and you can track what raids you run, you also get scored, and you can find out that you're raiding with people that are not garbage, and trolling you, or just AFK in raids. So because everyone on Open Raid just kind of helps each other out, and you can find really good raid groups here. You can maybe find a new guild on Open Raid. This is the best way to do it, I think, in my opinion. You can go into the live chat sometimes to try to find people that are forming up for groups right now, or you can create your own event. You can repeat events. Of course, you can look through all their crazy stuff. Again, 322 events right now. People are always like, Open Raid's dead, the new patch, blur. No. But, yeah, Open Raid is the best way to find stuff, in my opinion. And the link is down below, of course. If you're looking for more monk stuff, you can always go to chiburst.com. Make sure you put the /forums in the website. You can go search for that. Here, I'll bring this down real quick for you. There's the URL for you. But that's the one place you can go for 2 different podcasts on monk-only stuff. We have monk-only streams. We have guides for Brewmaster, Windwalker, and Mistweaver up there on the Chiburst website. So if you want a monk community to jump into, if you are new to the class, or you want to just learn things about it, that's where you want to go. Right here. Just jump on that Chiburst, all right? Do it. I'm waiting. Have you done it yet? All right, good. Additionally, of course, if you want to help support FinalBossTV, and what I keep being weird about with the progression race right now is who gets the next shirt design. So I hope it's a different guild because I don't want to have 2 method shirts. It won't be a bad thing, but, I would, like to have, different variety there. But we have our apparel shop where you can buy different t-shirts, tank tops, baseball tees, hoodies, sweatshirts, zipper fronts, phone cases, art prints, yada, yada, yada. There's the Final Blame shirt with or without the stamp if you want to blame that ever-present celestial dragonling, of course. All the different stuff that came out for On My Own is also there as well, and everything here goes to help support the show, and we appreciate anyone that has bought the stuffs. And right now, I think Designed by Humans has a 20% off, or it's free worldwide shipping over certain orders. One of the 2. Or we have a promo code that spams in chat, so either one. Additionally, if you have also missed any past episodes, you can find us on iTunes or Stitcher by searching for Final Boss TV or Final Boss WoW, or you can go to our YouTube, where we have all of my extra content as well as all the archived shows and after shows right there at your disposal all the time, all the old episodes. You can also type !WOD in chat to find a little Google document that can link you to all the past episodes that we have done with hyperlinks and all that good stuff. Links are, of course, down below the stream. And we thank you all for the continued support and the growing lurv for the show. Again, a little PSA real quick. If people, we did all the episodes, of course, that only talked about Tier 17 for future classes or back classes. After we finish the rest of this junket for Warlords, I'll be doing a series of 8 catch-up episodes that will be an amalgamation of all tanks, healers, range DPS, or melee DPS. There'll be 8, 2 of each, where I'll bring on one guest from each specific, class or spec, and we'll talk about how Tier 18 has changed the class, get up to speed on how rogues are doing, how hunters are doing, how prot warriors and prot paladins or whatever are doing. So we'll have catch-ups for that. So don't worry if you have missed your episode or it's a little bit out of date now, like Resto Shaman, for example. Like, they're really good now, and they weren't when we did the episode, so we'll have that coming soon. But enough about that. It's time for talents. You guys ready?
Yep.
Always.
You sound so enthused.
Woodwalking talents are fun.
Hopefully there's some... I always get really curious when it comes to talents. I'm always a little bit worried. So, level 100 talents. Hurricane Strike, which looks awesome, but you unleash a series of rapid kicks at not technically a random enemy. It's the first enemy that you come in contact with, apparently, which isn't correct because tooltips lie. And you do a whole bunch of damage over 2 seconds. Costs 3 chi. It's an instant 45-second cooldown. You're immune to movement impairing effects and loss of control effects during the duration. Chi Explosion replaces Blackout Kick. It's a 1, 2, 3, or 4 chi ability with a 30-yard range, instant cast, and it does increasingly awesome things as you power it up with more chi, and also looks pretty damn cool. And then Serenity, 1.5-minute cooldown that you go into an elevated state, and for 10 seconds, all chi consumptions are instantly refilled. So, Calli, how does the hierarchy here run with talents?
So, Hurricane Strike doesn't exist unless you're PvPing. Chi Explosion is typically used for any kind of stacked cleave fight or any kind of AoE fight. Okay. Serenity is great for your boss damage. So in Dharmak, I typically went with Serenity when we were actually progressing and went to Chi Explosion when we weren't progressing because we didn't have issues with boss damage. Okay. The important thing here to understand with Serenity is it's refunded. You can't go in with 0 chi because it's not free. Right. You still spend the chi. That way, you get your Tiger Eye stacks and all that. But it's refunded right at the end of that GCD.
Right. So you have to have 4, and then you pop it, and then you're free to go for 10 seconds.
Well,
at least 3.
At least 2 to 3.
At least 2 or 3. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have to jab again for a Fist of Fury coming up cooldown at the end if you time it right?
You don't want to jab during Serenity. I think that's probably a bad thing.
Oh, goodness, no. Okay. And typically you actually want Fist of Fury on cooldown already whenever you hit Serenity.
Yeah. Ah, good. All right, cool. That seems pretty definitive. I mean, you only have 2 talents, so for more single target or to have the actual bursty cooldown, go Serenity. For AoE and Cleave, go Chi Explosion?
Yep.
Okay.
Or if you're lazy, you can go Chi Explosion single target. You'll just do less damage.
Yeah.
It actually is less damage, even with the new sets and stuff, with the extra interaction with Rice and Sunkick and stuff. Yeah, because you're getting
so many more attacks off with Serenity with your multi-strike. It's insane.
Fair enough. Gotcha. So that's a pretty good definitive back and forth there. At least you have the back and forth choices. That seems pretty good. So why is Hurricane Strike bad?
It just doesn't do as much damage as the other 2. It needs to be buffed like 70% or something.
Yeah, like double. Like it's there just isn't enough numbers behind it for it to be worth taking.
If the cooldown was reduced, would it be better? It seems like a pretty
because it's a waste of chi at that point.
Not necessarily.
Really?
Yeah.
45-second cooldown just seems like forever. I mean, that's the same cooldown on Liquid Magma. But Liquid Magma, has an AoE coefficient, scales with haste, and it just seems like Hurricane Strike, besides looking awesome, is just kind of eh.
Yeah, it basically, even with the higher cooldown on it, as I think Irish already said, it's also 3 chi. Right. So it's less damage per chi.
That's unfortunate. I mean,
you're more off just doing 2 blackout kicks.
Yeah.
It actually does more. Wow. I guess just more often. Yeah, because you'll get more of those in the duration of the cooldown. So, but I got, like Akina said in chat, Hurricane Strike is good for PvP and world mobs.
Yeah. And even then you can just go Serenity and burst down world mobs.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess that's pretty straightforward. There's sort of like some back and forth talents you can kind of mix and match here. You don't have a ton of options, like direct DPS options, kind of different with every class, of course. So we'll just go back up to 90 real quick. So RJW, of course, and then Juen, or Kenny, as it is.
The kitty.
And then Chi Torpedo. So where do these fall in line with each other? Do these change per... I know they just buffed Chi Torpedo recently.
Yeah.
So, Irish, what are these looking like for you? Can you swap these around a lot, or is it a set it and forget it kind of thing?
You generally take Zun for every fight. A good fight for Rushing Jade Wind would either be if you want to scumbag AoE on Chrome Rock, or
Right.
actually on Zul'Horak, the
portal guy.
Yeah.
The portal guy, yeah.
Yeah, Zul'Horak. Zul'Horak is good because the ads are up so often that it's actually worth the energy cost for the chi refund to Rushing Jade Wyndham and still do your single target. Because you always have a clone up on the big ad, like either the Doomguard or the Fell Lord.
Sure, of
And
course.
you have up on, and you have yourself up on the boss, and then you Rushing Jade Wind for the imps without having to swap off for imp damage.
Oh, okay. Not bad. So
At least
then,
I do. I don't know if that's perfectly optimal, but
and-
Yeah, basically RJW, the way it is now, is that it's very rarely taken, which makes me sad. It's absolutely one of my favorite abilities for Windwalker. But the last fight it was actually very useful for was basically Tectus, because it's a sustained AoE fight.
Sure, of
Whereas now with Chi Torpedo, that's basically for scumbag the meters, we have a burst AoE fight, and I can maybe get at some extra DPS. And probably also kill myself, but that's beside the point.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
the
mean,
problem with it
John,
is it takes away your roll. Yeah.
right, of course. So it basically makes roll do damage. So if is Chi Torpedo actually like... It's
Like
always weird when I look at talent trees, and one is a short cooldown, but also costs a resource. One is just a flat cooldown, a long one, and then one costs nothing. Because Chi Torpedo just has charges.
Yeah.
Really good on Beast Lord for scumbagging the ads.
Yes, it
You
absolutely
would take
was.
Celerity on 15 for an extra one, and you would just go, you would port around the room and take aggro on all the ads because you did a bunch of burst AoE.
Right.
Yep.
And
The
then you
problem
die.
is other
as the tanks
classes
are-
do burst AoE better still.
Sure. So it's almost like Juen for almost everything, for the most part?
Yeah. Basically.
Except for Zora.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I mean, Zun would be a strong choice for that fight as well.
Yeah, because he
wouldn't-
still cleaves.
You wouldn't think... Yeah, he does. He does lightning.
He does a lot of...
His lightning bite, rah, rah, rah. But you wouldn't like Rushing Jade Wind on Archimon, for example, because you always have ads out for the first like 2 phases, not enough to warrant the use.
No,
I
because you
wouldn't
always
say
have... You have 2 targets a lot. You never
Right.
have 3 targets a lot until the end, and then that's a huge waste of a talent to only be using it at that point.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So there's a breakpoint with RJW's like.
Yeah, you need
energy
3
to
for the
di-
chi.
3 for the chi. All right.
3 targets need to be hit by the same tick of Rushing Jade Wind to give you 1 chi, and
give
it
you 1
only
chi.
will count for per cast.
Okay. Fair enough. I guess talking about chi a lot, then the 45 talent tier has evolved over time to be an awkward point for different spec of monk. And so where does Windwalker rate Power Strikes, Ascension, and Chi Brew?
Power
Calli?
Strikes is for the other 2 specs.
Yep.
Ascension is for Chi Explosion, unless you're on, something where you want some burst, in which case, if you're in Chi Explosion, you can go with Chi Brew. For Serenity, you basically just want to take Chi Brew. I've known some people to take Ascension, but it's
It doesn't work.
Okay.
yeah, it's not as good together.
So it's almost the control, because you could Chi Brew or even double Chi Brew right before Serenity comes up, or at least do
Yep.
you can like jab Chi Brew and then go right into Serenity when it comes off cooldown, right? Type
Especially
3.
in the
Yeah.
Serenity opener. You can get a lot of free Tiger Eye Brew, like within the first 3 globals, to immediately go into Serenity with a 10 stack if you're lucky on Mastery procs.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And then what's the argument for Ascension and Chi Explosion then? Why does it work well
More
together?
haste.
More haste.
More haste,
More
more
energy
explosions.
regen, more
Yep.
chi gen.
More Chi Gen for more explosions. Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. So Power Strikes is
Yeah, it's for the other 2 specs,
Yeah, it's for
basically.
the other 2.
okay. That's pretty definitive.
It's really good for Brewmaster and Mistweaver, but not
yeah.
so much for Windwalker.
not for Windwalker.
You need that guaranteed. When I jab, I'm gonna get 2.
Right. Fair enough. And then, or
Can't be like, I might get an extra one, maybe.
right. Does the so is Ascension really balanced around the fact that it's the energy regeneration is the big deal?
Yep.
I mean, is the extra 1 chi really important?
No, it just happens to be there, really.
It's
You can
just-
start out the
I
fight
think
with
it is
6 chi.
actually, for
Go ahead.
more advanced play, I actually think it is very good for basically kind of pooling your chi a little bit.
Mhm.
For, say, you're waiting on some ads to come out. Yeah, maybe you do want to go up to 6 chi. They come out, and then you chi explosion, then you can jab back up to 4 real quick.
Chi explosion again, yay!
Yep.
Okay, that sounds pretty worthwhile. How much haste rating is 15% energy regeneration?
It scales.
Oh, it's actually
That's-
it's not actually
Yeah, because
a flat
it's not a
15%?
flat. Yeah.
Okay, so it increases your energy regeneration by 15%. Okay.
Yes.
But still, I guess, okay, well, Hina will catch up with us in chat and give us, like, some...
What is these numbers?
So, that's what I was always wondering about when you get, like, these flat bonuses, if they're multiplicative or additive and how impactful they become, so...
Yeah, it does scale with your stats. I remember trying to math out Ascension versus Chi Brew back whenever they changed it up, and I'm like, well, Ascension's basically always going to be good as long as you can always hit those GCDs. But with how we are right now, we just can't do it, especially not with how many combo breakers we get falling out of our eyeballs. Not only that, like you said, the control from Chi Brew is the best.
Right, that's what it sounds like. I mean, it's a similar thing, I guess, with Rune Tap for Death Knight. It's this control when you need to have that, you know, chi or runes in the Death Knight example. I guess Ascension also, too, gives you a little bit more of a buffer with, like, the Ret Monk playstyle you have right now because you get that extra 20 energy on your set bonus, so...
Well,
Yeah.
you don't need Ascension when you get your 6 set, for a single target at least, because you're always going to have energy because you're always going to be casting spenders for free, where you're just going to keep on capping energy. Like, you're not going to be hitting jab that often, so the extra energy regen from Ascension is essentially worthless.
In fact, we're even delaying Fist of Fury at times because it's like, well, I capped out energy. Well, what do? I guess I got a jab.
That's what I
can't use Fist of Fury.
Right. That's what I mean. Oh, I also misspoke. It's called Blood Tap, not Rune Tap. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I was wondering about, too, is with the amount of free combo breakers you get with the new set, like, would you just basically Chi Brew it when you get tier 18 4 set, and then... I guess you could run Ascension, but you're going to have so many free abilities anyway, your energy regen so fast, going to cap all the time, it sounds like.
Yeah, even for Chi Explosion, I guess it would just depend on the feel of the fight, and just, like, if you're always spending, or if it's like Hellfire Assault, where you do have a lot of downtime because you could just Zerg fest the ads down real quick.
Yeah. I mean, the thing to keep in mind, too, is with Chi Explosion, you're still using... What with Serenity would be 2 globals of Chi, you're using in 1 global. So it's still... In my experience with PTR, it was still good to go ahead and go with Ascension over Chi Brew.
Okay. So that's some back and forth on the actual encounter itself. And now here's the weird one. So Chi Wave, Zen Sphere, and Chi Burst. I know that Zen Sphere recently received a pretty substantial buff now. Is Zen Sphere still set it and forget it, or is there actually some wiggle room in the 30 tier?
There's actually... Yeah, it depends on the fight. Chi Wave is basically, I'm feeling lazy. I don't really care about min-maxing. I don't care about that 0.01% damage from Zen Sphere.
Right, okay.
Or I have to run
on,
away, so
Iron
maybe Zen
Reaper.
Sphere is not the best. Yeah.
Iron
Zen Sphere,
Reaper
though,
becomes
is a
human.
lot of healing, is one thing to keep in mind.
Right.
A lot, using the term very loosely here. It's not like Enhancement Shaman back in, SOO.
Well, especially if you're in Tiger Library when it pops.
Oh, yeah. It's
It's
great.
like 40k and everyone. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's just heal all the melee for 1 million real quick.
They're not dying.
And
Yeah.
it's the thing I've heard about Zen Sphere management is that the best way to do it is to make like almost 2 macros for it. One that targets yourself, and one that targets a fellow melee or like the tank.
Yep,
And
that's what I do.
Okay, you basically, because it's a 10-second cooldown, but the orb lasts for 16, so you can have 2 out at one time.
Yep.
And you need to manage and keep those both up. So
Yeah, I just use a focus macro with a weak aura that says, hey, by the way, this one's expiring. Oh, this one's expiring now, so I'll just push this button instead.
yeah.
But the truth is, at least whenever I was in BRF, I used Zen Sphere on maybe 1 or 2 fights. Chi Burst is just, because almost every fight has at least 1 ad phase every 30 seconds.
Right.
So you might as well just go with Chi Burst.
Yeah, as long as there's something else to hit. Cheaper, so come ahead.
Chi Burst is just still really good looking. Okay.
Yeah, you
I
get
mean,
to go bowling.
It looks fracking awesome too.
Hadouken!
Yeah, it really is. It's almost a Hadouken. Yeah, exactly. Or like a Dragon Ball Z,
Kamehameha.
Exactly. It really, yeah, exactly. So I guess there's a thing in there. So you'd say Zen Sphere for a fight, then like Fell Reaver, Iron Reaver that is a single target. Zul'Horak probably. Not Zul'Horak. Yeah, Zul'Horak because of the AOE, I suppose. Or you take Chi Burst for that. I was gonna say Zakuun for like Zen Sphere, single target only.
Yeah, Zakuun would definitely be Zen Sphere, especially because of the damage for that fight.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the popping healing would be really useful too.
Pop healing. Yeah. Interesting.
When people are not soaking or hitting the waves when they're not supposed to.
So there's a little bit of wiggle room here. I mean, there's a little bit of talent and switching around. That's good to hear.
Yeah. I've actually joked about having 2 Windwalker specs so that I don't have to swap out my AoE talents.
Yeah.
Laziness at its prime.
Yeah. Is there anything of note with? So your 15 is obviously very movement focused. That's just, I guess, up to the person. But is there anything that actually comes from the 75s? Like, do those swap around a lot?
Dampen harm if it's a physical fight, but almost every fight is magic damage, so diffuse magic, 90%.
Yeah.
And you could soak a lot of like raid abilities with your diffuse magic.
Yep. And there is actually something worth mentioning with 15, which Irish already mentioned.
Yeah. Go for it.
If you're in Chi Torpedo, it's best to go with Celerity so that you get the extra roll.
Yeah. Oh, of course. That would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought up Tiger's Lust earlier for Manaroth. You can cast Tiger's Lust on a class with less movement-oriented things to counter the Helm of Command. So...
Yeah, Tiger's Lust or bust.
Yeah. I mean, you can cast it on yourself, too, of course.
You can break roots.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Mine almost always goes on myself because, hey, you don't have your sprint up? Not my fault.
It's my tool. You can't have it.
Fair enough. Any glyphs, major glyphs that are really important to Windwalker Monk?
Glyph of Floating Butterfly.
Yeah, and Glyph of Blackout Kick.
Okay. Yeah, Glyph of Floating Butterfly, which means your Fist of Fury can be channeled while moving, no longer stuns the target, of course. Yes.
Godsend.
Yeah, good. And what was the other one you said?
Glyph of Blackout Kick, the minor glyph that should have just been baked in.
Yep.
Basically, if you're facing the boss, you lose some of the damage of your Blackout Kick because it decides, for whatever reason, it's going to heal you. I don't actually understand why, but it does. So you put that on so that you always get a dot instead, which makes a lot... Okay, it actually doesn't make sense to me why there's a dot in the first place, but it's there.
Hey, at least the glyph is back. It was gone, so they
I know, and I was very angry that tier.
And on Korag, when he's constantly turning around and running towards the range group and your Blackout Kick, and you're just like, well, that did no damage.
Or how about soloing, where I'm trying to solo Bastion of Twilight? Oh, well, I just have to hit Tiger Palm instead, because if I heal myself, I die.
Right. Was there any other major glyphs that are really important?
I think Touch of Karma, Touch of Karma is an important one. I actually use Zen Meditation for everything, too, because I think it's a very underappreciated cooldown. It's a 90% reduction that, you have to channel it, but if you can move and reduce 90%, you're probably not going to die.
Yeah.
So you got that going for you.
Zen Med and get out of there.
Is Zen Med all damage or only magic? All damage?
All damage. Like I said, it's actually fairly powerful. It's just that it's not an immunity.
Right, of course. I mean, it's basically you have to channel like Cloak of Shadows, more or less. That's all it is. Yeah. But it affects all damage, where Cloak of Shadows is only magic, so yeah.
Yeah, and Cloak of Shadows also prevents applications.
Right.
Whereas Zen Med does not.
Yeah. So it still has a really good use, obviously, and use a Touch of Karma. I mean, I guess having Touch of Karma at a 20-yard range is super beneficial.
It's really, you'd be surprised. Like, I didn't have it glyphed for one fact. I think I had something like my Transcendence glyphed or something, so I could get around real quick. And I was like, was panicking because I couldn't touch a Karma or anything. I was like, oh, I have to be like right up in its face now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's awful.
I mean, that's a really good thing to have. It's some of those things really make me wonder if things should be baseline, because some glyphs are just kind of like you never take them off status. I was kind of wondering about that. But
the other one that a lot of people bounce around with is Glyph of Touch of Death. It increases the cooldown of your Touch of Death to 3 minutes, but reduces the chi cost. I personally have never found it necessarily worth it, but I do see the case for things like Rule, etc., where, hey, I'm spamming all these abilities, I'm not going to be using it anytime soon. Okay, might as well pop it every 3. But there are so many fights where you can pop it every minute and a half that...
on Fellord Zakuun would be the only fight I'd use it in this tier.
Yeah.
And what's the health threshold you need to have before you can start even using Touch of Death, though?
10% on a elite mob, so on a boss, would be 10% of their health, or your health, for anything that's not considered a strong mob or an elite.
Right, because sometimes you're only never going to get one touch of death off in a fight, in like a
Yeah.
major fight, so fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
So it has its uses.
Right.
Frankly, I'd still probably be glyphing Floating Butterfly, Touch of Karma, and Zen Meditation just because they're extremely useful, and dropping any one of those is really detrimental.
Sure. No, those all seem pretty
But like,
strong.
I think that's
it's
good.
definitely a toss-up sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good that it is a toss-up, because if the glyph choices were just set in stone, then that'd be boring.
Yeah, I know that the Summon Stone guide for Windwalker right now mentions Touch of Death for this fight, Touch of Death for that fight. I'm like, yeah, but think about what you're sacrificing, because I guess a lot of people don't realize just how useful Zen Meditation really is as a cooldown.
All right, then. How about some soapbox time? Anything you want to rant about, leave the Windwalker monk community with, or, hints, secrets, little lesser hidden things they might not think about? Go with you first, Irish.
Secrets and hidden things. Ugh. Well,
What do you want to leave them with? Yeah.
Well, they took out the Transcending Tier clone, so that's no longer a thing.
Oh, okay.
That was so broken. Can't really think of any secrets or hidden things. Like, the class is very straightforward in like what it offers. Like, there's a lot of things you have to worry about. Just make sure to Tiger Palm when you put your clones up, because they don't get the buff unless you cast it when they're up.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
They won't get the armor.
Really sucks, by the way.
They don't get that, and they don't get IRSK, so sometimes it is good to delay your IRSK by maybe 1 or 2 seconds. I usually don't go that far with it, because a lot of the time it's like, oh yeah, right, I'm in a raid, so those are going to be dead instantly anyway.
They have their own RSK debuff, which you can see on things debuff bars, because you'll see multiple ones. It doesn't mean you're dealing 30% damage because you have 3 of them. It just means your clone's cleave is doing 10% more damage to that target.
All right, that's good. Calli, you got anything?
I mean, I think, like I said, I think we're actually in a pretty good spot right now. It's just that other classes are a lot more desirable for a lot of other different reasons. So yeah, I still get to complain a little bit that I think our single target could be brought up a bit. And yeah, I'd really like it if our mastery were actually adjusted to be a little bit more desirable. It's not a DPS loss, I'll give you that, but it is a DPS loss over any other stat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, again, we talked about that a lot in the middle of the show. It's just a weird mastery to have.
Yep.
We've been complaining about it for so long, too.
Yeah.
It's went through iterations, too.
A bad stat. Like, if something was crit, like, say you got a piece of a ring or something, it was crit haste. Okay, that's equipable. But if it's crit mastery, it's like, do I want to drop this other piece I'm wearing for it?
I remember getting bracers in Mythic High Mall, or not Mythic High Mall, but they were replacing High Mall bracers with BRF bracers. I'm like, is this even going to be an upgrade? So I run some C real quick to make sure. I'm like, oh, it's a 1 DPS gain.
Right?
1!
For bracers.
But you get more stamina.
Yeah, Touch of Death, right?
Yeah, Touch of Death is harder.
Yeah, see,
Touch of Death spec. Just gem stamina. Let's go.
Exactly. Touch of Death spec. But that's not a real thing. Please don't.
That would be amazing.
No, we joke about it all the time of gemming for stamina.
Let's do it.
No.
Sure. Well, I have one more thing to plug real quick, and then I guess we'll get out of here. The huge War Crimes project that many of you may have heard about or have seen the trailer for on our YouTube or whatever. We had a bit of a crew kerfuffle, and we're looking for some more people to come on and help us with stuff. So, if you want to be a part of the crew in a digital artist, 3D modeler, or 3D animator capacity, you can send an email over to finalbosswow@gmail.com. You can include whatever information you think would help your case or show what you want to show, your portfolio, your website, whatever you got. The 3D modeling and the 3D animating stuff obviously is the higher priority, but if you are accomplished and you want to put together some digital art for the production in some way, shape, or form, I can figure something out. So you can send me an email at finalbosswow@gmail.com if you want to be a part of the hugeness that I show you some spreadsheets right now. I'm not going to, but I could. And details for our huge Kickstarter will eventually come out, hopefully by the end of the summer. We want to do a big Kickstarter for it. We have a lot of ideas and some tier giveaway stuffs and reversing things and all this blah, blah, blah. But enough about that. I'm going to hit this button right here. Wait for it. Wait for it. There it is. Thank you all for tuning in to episode number 87 of Final Boss TV, your WoW and Game rating show. Thank you so much for being here. Around the table real quick for our guest joining us. Back for her, again, like 17th time. She's trying to get the top spot, apparently. I don't know what's going on. There's Calli. You can go follow her on Twitter at CalliMonk. You can go see how she does in the Hellfires and the Citadels and ask her questions if need be.
See me prove that, no, I don't need to clean my room.
No, your room is not. It's a creative mess. It's good. It's fine. It's good.
It's a dog bed. Come on.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. But, yeah, thank you for being on the show again, Calli. It was a pleasure, as always. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.
And there's Irysheman. You can go follow him over on Twitter at the same name. And you told me at the beginning of the show, that's actually the proper way it's spelled, sir?
Thank you for pronouncing it properly.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're fine. I mean, you are, like, literally blowing out right now. The sun
I know,
is amazing
the sun
behind
is
you.
just like, hello, I'm here.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Here, there we go.
There you go, that's fine. So thank you for being on the show, sir. If people want to bother you on Twitter.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And if you have questions for our guests, stick around for the after show. We're going on a quick hiatus break right now. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is up here somewhere. You can go to the after show or answer questions from chat room and Twitter. So if you have your questions, hold them for a moment, or send them to us on Twitter at FinalBossTV. Next week, there's only 2 classes left. I wonder what it could be. We're going to do mages next week. If you have mage questions for Fire, Frost, or Arcane mages, please send them into the Ask a Boss link down below. Guest details will come up on social media in a couple days once I get the scheduling figured out. And then if you can do class math, Enhancement Shaman is the last one we will do before we get back into the recap Tier 18 catch-up junket series of 8 episodes in a row. So yeah, you can send your question for Enhancement Shaman right now as well. No, it will not be me in 3 versions of me in different costumes talking to myself. That'll be people here talking about stuff. I don't know that much. I suck at this game. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Trust in your seal of inevitable fate. That's never going to roll off the tongue very well. And until the after show or until next week or to the YouTube comments, have a great one. And bye, everybody. Bye. Wave bye. Wave bye, people. They're so nice. Wave bye. Yeah. Bye.